Start, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all for another wonderful session on integrating landscape and sustainability. So, as you all are aware now that we are organizing this 7 days mega event on sustainability and realty. So, it's ASSOCHAM's GEM Realty and Sustainability Conference Expo and Awards, which we are doing since Friday, 27th November, and it will go up to Thursday, 3rd December. And this is our fifth day and second session. Our today's session is integrating landscape and sustainability. This session is being organized by ASSOCHAM's GEM Uttar Pradesh chapter under the guidance of architect Anupam Mittal and architect Anurag Vajpayee. So we have wonderful speakers with us from India, Malaysia, Bhutan, starting with the architect Anupam Vajpayee, who is the co-chairman of GEM Uttar Pradesh chapter, and Anurag Vajpayee is the director of Green Tree Global. We have with us Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, who is the chairman of ASSOCHAM GEM Green Building Council and is the president of Pankaj Dharkar Associates. We have with us architect Anupam Mittal ji, who is the chairman of GEM UP chapter and principal architect from Maritime Consultancy Services Private Limited. We have architect Alvin from Malaysia, architect Dorji from Bhutan, Mukul Goyal ji, principal architect Mukul Goyal and Associates, architect Sujata ji from Oasis Designs, Mr. Madhup Mazumdar, principal landscape architect from Design Accord, and engineer Amit Shivastha, who is the advisor to GEM UP chapter and chief operating officer BBD Viraj Constructions. So I will not take much of your time and would like to invite architect Anurag Vajpayee, who is the coordinator for the program. Anurag ji, over to you.
Namaskar. Thank you so much, ASSOCHAM GEM, for the opportunity. And good evening, all ladies and gentlemen, and all the fellow panelists here. We have an amazing session integrating landscape and sustainability. And so are the panelists themselves. We have professionals from Malaysia, Bhutan, and certainly, of course, from India as well. When we talk about the integrating sustainability with the landscape, we talk in general about a lot of other features which are part of the green building rating systems like ASSOCHAM GEM. We talk about how much is the open area in a particular plot which is covered by a building. What is the percentage ratio of hard surface to soft surface or soft paving areas? We also talk about a lot of, let's say, the native trees, shrubs, grass, and turf areas, and certainly irrigation systems efficiency that is a part and parcel of the landscape area. When we talk about the landscape area, certainly we talk about the water bodies, which are certainly be filled by the recycled water or maybe potable water sometimes. Now, all these parameters that we talk about, certainly the professionals who are the part of this panel, they'll be certainly enlightening us with a lot of other specific information. How do we design the landscape integrating the sustainability feature? But the first and foremost, I would also like to invite our President Pankaj Dharkar, sir. He's Chairman ASSOCHAM GEM Green Building Council and also President Pankaj Dharkar and Associates. He has done intensively a lot of work in this domain. I would like to invite him first so that we can listen what sir has to say. Over to you, Pankaj sir.
GEM UP chapter for organizing this important seminar, which is part of our 7 days confluence and conference of reality and sustainability. And we are on the 5th day, second half. Till this time, we have been some fascinating session. And I think today we are going to get enlightened with a session from Darji from Bhutan and Alvin from Malaysia, and also from Sujata, and also Madhup Mazumdarji from India. And of course, we are blessed with Anupamji himself, Anupamji Mittal, who is our chairperson, and Mukul Goyalji, who is a principal architect from Delhi. So I think fascinating team going to present this session. And I'm sure that all of us are going to learn a lot from this session. Friends, I would like to take some time to let you know about ASSOCHAM GEM program. So we are part of ASSOCHAM, which has 400 chambers of the country, 4.5 lakhs members across the country, and we are working towards creating a conducive environment of India business to compete globally. And you would have heard about PhD chambers and MCCI, and all these chambers are part of ASSOCHAM team. And people ask me why this fourth certification program is coming up, and we all tell them that, okay, we started green building movement in India in 2001, and that in 2020 we have only 6,500 buildings which got registered, and 2,500 plus got certified with Indian footprint of buildings, and 70% of India still to be built. We do believe that we need massive awareness program going across the country to ensure that every building which comes up in future is a green building. And with that vision, we are chaired by Niranjan Hiranandani. I'm pleased with him because he himself is an eminent developer and builder from Mumbai. And of course, we have a dynamic team. Vinit Agarwalji is our vice president. Balkrishna Goenka is a past president, and I've been ably supported by Deepak Sood Saab. And of course, all 8 chairpersons of 8 chapters, along with great team which I'm blessed with. So ASSOCHAM has taken this green initiative to care of Mother Earth to complement India's sustainability program, and our program is very, very simple. You can download this free of cost. Currently, we have second edition. We are constantly upgrading this program, and our program, as you know, is based on B is ECBC 2017 and NBC 2016, and we do believe that these are 2 wonderful documents which Indian architects and engineers have provided to not only India but to the globe. Our program includes sustainability, energy, water efficiency, more green area, which is relevant to today's topic, indoor air quality, daylight, fresh air, and human comfort, which has become so important with post-pandemic. But one important thing which I want to highlight is our program is the only global program which gives credits to fire and life safety. So we want that building design should be not only energy efficient, green, but also have fire and life safety wise secured and safe. We all know that any certified buildings will have payback of less than 4 years, and these buildings are created for 50 years above. In fact, during this webinar series, we have been interacting on old heritage building upgradations, and we learned a lot. We saw some good case studies from Udaipur where buildings 200 years back constructed were all green, and fantastic experiences were shared by the eminent architects with us. Friends, this is the only program where all data related to energy, water and water consumption and indoor air quality are monitored by our central command center in Delhi. And our intention is to build a benchmarking for the buildings. And this we do just with 20,000 rupees, Indian rupees, which is a small number, but the whole idea is to inspire people to give connectivity so that we are able to generate a data benchmarking which will help our architects of our future generation to do innovation and research work. We are currently having MOUs with eminent societies like Indian Institute of Architects, Fire and Security Association of India, ISLE, the Lighting Society, the Global Association of Corporate Societies, Smart Habitat Foundation, IAC, international societies like IAQA and various chapters of ASHRAE. Friends, I am very delighted that we have now received recognition from Rajasthan government in terms of providing the FSAI equivalent to other certifying agencies. And I'm sure under the leadership of Anupamji and the entire team here, we will be able to get the breakthrough from state of Uttar Pradesh also. We are also recognized by CRESIL along with other certifying agencies. So this is a good recognition we have received for GEM in last couple of weeks. Friends, we have number of types of buildings which are certified across the cross section of the industry, including a pharma giant like Abbott, a JK cement plant like JK Cement, electrical and electronics giant like Siemens, to various universities across the country, and a luxury brand of Hilton and ITC hotels. We started we are very infant that way. We just started 2 years back with our chapters in Punjab, Rajasthan, Gujarat, which we installed physically, and then we moved to digital era now, where we started with UP. In fact, UP was the first chapter which inspired us to go digitally. Under Sir Anupamji leadership, where we did the first installation digitally, and thereafter we did not stop. We went to West Bengal, we went to Chhattisgarh, we went to Maharashtra, and now we are present across the country. We are going to 20 states and crossing the border. You can see here today's session, we have speakers from Bhutan, Malaysia. In the morning, we had 4 international speakers coming from Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and also from, so we are spreading our wing. We want to work with, we want to understand internationally where the sustainability programs are going. Friends, we did some important programs during this pandemic. First was to create a guideline for resumption of engineering services and building, along with ISHRE, FSCI, IMA, IPA, all engineering societies we brought together. And this was the first global document of its kind. This pandemic happened for the first time, where the lockdown suddenly happened, the buildings got closed. So this was an important contribution which ASSOCHAM did with other societies. And I'm really thankful to all the societies for trusting ASSOCHAM. We took it to 29 states and 6 union territories, and this document was well appreciated. The another important initiative which we have taken with the World Bank and Bureau of Energy Efficiency is to create awareness about the performance contracting business. We have already concluded 2 sessions. We are going to have 3 sessions immediately after this week gets over with this session. So these are important areas where we believe with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, a business potential of 1,50,000 crores can be created, and which will upgrade the technologies of current building to move on, so that our existing stock of inefficient building also get converted to the green building. Our certification, the GEM professional certifying exam is very, very transparent, very easy. We believe that, and we believe that more and more young professionals should come and start certifying the projects. So this exam, for that we do a free classes across the digital platform, and then we inspire people that a 90-minute exam can be, it's an open book exam which can be given anytime when they feel comfortable, and they get this certification done. Friends, we initiated a very important mission in this last 4 or 5 months, where we went to universities and created affiliations, and I'm very glad to put on record that currently we have 62 universities with whom we have affiliation, where a good number comes from Uttar Pradesh. Thanks to my Uttar Pradesh team, they have done a fabulous work here. We want to go to young architects, we want to go to young students. They are the future. We want that every building which gets built through their mission and their awareness, that it has to be a green building. So this is a big program which we are driving, and in these 7 days we are addressing several new subjects which were never explored, and 14 sessions we are doing, like one we are doing today on the integration of landscape and sustainability. So various varieties of subjects have been covered here, with close to 120 plus speakers of various landscape of various profiles of architects from 10 countries we have brought together. Fabulous done by teamwork done, and I really compliment Uttar Pradesh team for getting such eminent speakers today. So in last 4 or 5 months, with the team effort, we could get more than 72,000 people listen to these various webinars. More than 60 webinars we concluded, and with 62 MOUs with universities and 10 affiliations with societies. I think team is doing fabulous work. So let us come together and create a green and environmental sustainable country and complement our Prime Minister vision of making this country greener and eco-friendly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pankaj Dharkar sir, for setting up the stage, and the address was very, very informative. And thank you so much for your address as well. The panel shall be ably moderated by our Anupam Mittal sir. Just to give the brief about him, that he's my big brother. He's a chairman, ASSOCHAM GEM Green Building Council. And he's also heading the government advocacy committee. He's a principal architect, R&M Consulting Services Private Limited, which is in the domain of providing excellent consulting services for last 25 years or so. And before inviting Anupam sir for his address, I would also like to request all the participants to please put down your question and answer questions in the question answer column, so that we can address them while responding after the panel discussion is over. Inviting Anupam Mittal sir, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Anurag Vajpayee, for coordinating this session and for the introduction. Thank you, Pankaj Dharkar sir, for the lovely insight for GM. Your able guidance is always with us, and definitely we'll move forward. On behalf of ASSOCHAM GEM team and the UP State Chapter, I welcome you all in this session on integrating landscape and sustainability. On this virtual forum, Reality and Sustainability, Confluence and Award 2020. We have with us renowned professionals from all across the globe. They have created and initiated green concepts, rating systems, and performed through their projects in private segment, government level, and at international forums. Their exposure, experience, and knowledge is immense. We all are waiting eagerly to hear from them. From the list of our eminent from Malaysia, Architect Dorji Yanki from Bhutan, Architect Mukul Goyal from Jaipur, India, Landscape Architect Sujata Ingorani, and Landscape Architect Madhum Mazumdar from Delhi, India. Since we have such good experienced professionals, I would like to introduce them and start asking them about their views on the subject. There will be 2 rounds of questions, followed by a question and answer session. So let me introduce one by one. First, I'll introduce Architect Alvin Lim from Malaysia. Architect Alvin Lim is a registered architect with almost 30 years of architectural industry. He heads ADJ Atler, which is an established architectural company with its affiliated practice of ADJ Architecture, and AL Architect registered as member of Lembaga Architect Malaysia, which is Board of Architects Malaysia. He co-chaired the joint LAM-PAM LAM-PM Green Building and Sustainability Committee in 2009-2010, which later initiated the Green Building Index (GBI) to rate green buildings in Malaysia, and currently serves as the Vice President Architect Malaysia, heading initiatives such as the PAM Convention and the PAM Academy. Let me introduce Architect Dorji Yanki from Bhutan. Architect Dorji Yanki is the president for Bhutan Institute of Architects, and she was the first female chair of SARC. Wow. She worked as the chief architect at the Ministry of Home Affairs of Bhutan for 15 years. She studied architecture in Australia, completed her master's from UK, and was a fellow at the Graduate School of Design at Harvard University. Architect Dorji drafted the first guidelines for the introduction of green buildings in Bhutan and helped to set up the first degree course for architecture in Bhutan, with a strong focus on sustainability. Wonderful. Architect Mukul Goyal, 1994 from Government College, and took up a job with famous landscape architect Shastri in Delhi. In 1995, he joined Architecture Department, MNIT Jaipur, as an associate professor. He taught for 8 years. He has won the Best IA Award, National Award Member Award in 2018, He is also an editorial board of IA Journal on national level. He is also the Indian correspondent editor for International Magazine on the international front. He is presently the deputy chairman of Arcasia Committee on the Practice of Arcasia. Next is architect Sujata Hingorani. Sujata Hingorani is a principal landscape architect, Oasis Design Incorporation, engaged in various scale of projects ranging from planning new TOD townships, smart cities, streetscapes, public landscape, and plazas. In addition to the regular private commissions, the work integrates sustainable urban design concept into creating vibrant public places and ecologically sensitive urban spaces, opting for more sustainable solutions for storm and wastewater management. Wow. And finally, looking at all the public places of all our cities holistically so that they become more active and interactive. The last but not the least, architect Madhu Mazumdar. Having worked under Professor Shahid during his first few years of learning, architect Madhu Mazumdar started his practice in the name of Design Accord in 2002 as a partner and principal landscape architect of Design Accord. With Masters of Landscape Architecture from SP Delhi, double gold medal, 1998, and Jadavpur University, Kolkata, Bachelor in Architecture, gold medalist, 1995. A lot of gold is with him. Former Secretary of the Indian Society of Landscape Architects, ISSOCHAM, Delhi chapter, Madhu has kept alive his participation in various forums, conferences, and workshops, along with his professional pursuits in 18 years of his career. These were the introduction, although my few words cannot explain, cannot introduce their vast experience all across the globe. But still, in few words, there are certain things which at least brief you about the speakers, their vast experience, their experience, and all. So after this introduction, I will like to start my question answer session. I guess Akit, I will. And if there is something to be shared, you can definitely share. You can coordinate with our team. So, Alvin.
You through LAM, PM, Green Building and Sustainability Committee initiated the Green Building Index in Malaysia, which you call it GBI. Tell us what is the methodology of GBI rating for landscape area and public spaces? It's particularly about public spaces. If you can just deliberate on the subject. Over to you, Alvin.
Alvin, you're not audible. You can switch off your video. Alvin, you're not audible, still not audible. No. No. No, you're not audible, Alvin. I think there's some issue with the internet connection.
Meanwhile, Neeraj, so meanwhile, once we check the audio connection with Alvin, I think shall I move forward for the with the next speaker?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So meanwhile, please, Neeraj just said somebody to check the video with architect Alvin.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I'll coming forward with the next question. This is for architect Dorji. So, Dorji, welcome. You're audible also, and you're visible also. So, you can please go ahead with this. Generally, it is believed that sustainable methods are not bad for economy. Generally, we believe so. It seems to be expensive most of the time. But Bhutan is the world's most sustainable economy. How have you achieved this? Can you just put some light on this?
Thank you, Architect Anupam. But before I answer my question, I would like to say that it's a big honor for me to part of this panel. And I would also like to congratulate ASSOCHAM, GEM, the UP chapter. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to be here with all the distinguished speakers in this panel. Now, with regard to your question, of course, I must say that Bhutan, we are not yet the most sustainable. We don't really have the most sustainable economy yet, but we're definitely working very hard towards that goal. And I would say that one of the main reasons that we are on track is because we have been blessed by very compassionate and very far-sighted leadership from our king, especially our fourth king and our present king. And in Bhutan, the environmental harmony and protection of the conservation of the environment is very much a way of life in Bhutan. It's not just in regulations and policies. And environmental conservation is taught in schools. And in fact, it is enshrined in our constitution. I think Bhutan, we are the only country in the world that by its constitution protects its forests. And within our constitution, we are mandated to have a minimum of 60% of the whole country under forest cover. And right now, actually, we have around 71% of the whole country under forest cover. And of course, Bhutan pledged to remain carbon neutral in the UN in 2009, and in 2017 we became the first and only country that is carbon negative, not just neutral, in the whole world. And we also banned export of logging and timber from our country around 20 years ago. And we also have very strong mining regulations. And besides that, of course, all our electricity and power for industries comes from very clean energy, hydropower. And beyond all that, I'm sure as many of you might have already heard, Bhutan, we follow the principle of GNH, which is gross national happiness, which is a little bit different from GDP, where environmental conservation is one of the main pillars. And basically, this is not just in our regulations, but every program and every project that we have in our country has to meet these GNH principles, where environmental conservation and sustainability and social equity is one of the main points. So basically, I would feel that besides just having regulations, we have this sustainability enshrined within our own way of life. So I feel that is one of the main reasons why in Bhutan we do have a very sustainable economy.
Yeah. So thank you, Dorji. I think this GNA should be the scale for everything, working with the happiness rather than the growth. So this is, I think, a very good insight, and even especially for architects in India, we should also, work out related to even rating also. Thank you, Dorji, for your first question and the related answer. I think Alvin is still not there, so we'll wait. Meanwhile, we'll move forward with architect Mukul Goyal. So Mukul Goyal is practicing landscape for years. He taught college also. So I'll put up a very direct question regarding the subject. Our subject is definitely integrating landscape sustainability. So what is the meaning of sustainability in landscape in general? Mukul Goyal, over to you.
Thank you, Anupam. And again, thank you for inviting me here on this August panel. And one thing which I'd like to say out here is that these are big words, but at the end of the day, landscape means sustainability. So the basic idea of landscape is to bring back nature into whatever work you are designing. So when we talk about sustainability, somewhere down the line, we are also talking about recreating the nature that we have destroyed. As architects, we have to do up the land. It might be, probably you already know that we had a large forest cover, but slowly that forest cover has been disappearing. And the reason is simple, that urbanization is happening. But at the end of the day, we don't want excessive urbanization. And in the process, we then run back to the visualization of having forests where we live. And that is where landscape comes back into play. And without landscape, you cannot at all have a sustainable or a livable environment. Back to you.
Yeah, Mukul, once you say this landscape itself, sustainable, comes with sustainability. Just a quick question from anybody, just I'm putting off the sequence right now for a minute. I'm a golfer, so the first time when I saw a golf course, so I saw it to be but sustainable, but I was told that it is not. And I took one of the project with the golf course. It was an industry with a golf course. For the rating system, I was suggested for less of a grass cover and more of a green cover, more of a cover with the plants and shrubs. Can you just quickly answer this question? It's a personal front which I just came across for some reason. Mukul or anybody else can answer me.
Let's have Sujata or Madhu come up with an answer.
I think Sujata will be the right person.
Yeah, I would leave that question, I think, for Madhu, because he does a lot of private projects. I think you can address that question to him. I think I'll be better in talking about public landscapes. Yeah, Madhu.
Great. Madhu, can you answer this question? Meanwhile, Alvin has also joined, so I'll put a question to him. Madhu? Okay, I think Madhu is.
Can you hear?
Madhu, please.
Yeah, thank you for bringing in the question. Thank you, everybody, and hello, everybody. It's a great platform to be with all of you, and thanks for diverting the question to me. But I thought, being a golfer, it's better that you require a lot of areas to do with very well maintained lawn. And lawn is one of the most water intensive component of landscape. So in terms of shade and sun, you have to retain that lawn, and also you require different sizes of the blades of the lawn, whether it's under the tree, whether it's under the tree, might go for pascal or some kind of shade lawn. Ultimately, it's one of the most water intensive plant, which is what we overlook. So when you are having the task of doing a golf, in between your fairways, the tree clumps which are placed, which creates those differential fairways, has to be actually like the sponge, which is kind of taking care of the reverse requirement of the water for the lawn. So they have to have the depressions. They have to have they should act as rain gardens to absorb the water and divert the water basis so that it kind of replenishes the water a lot. But definitely it is true that it is not a sustainable landscape in terms of its water efficiency, and more we should look for water efficient plants.
Great. Well, and thank you, Madhu, for that quick answer. And sorry for just diverting this subject. Meanwhile, welcome Alvin back to the forum. So my question, I'll again, shall I repeat, Alvin, or you can just simply answer it?
No, ask Alvin again about he's a golfer.
No, I'll put that question later. Alvin, my question was about your GBI, this Green Building Index in Malaysia. So how do you basically, what the methodology you take up for rating when you talk about the landscape in public space?
Right. Thank you. I can't share my screen.
Yeah. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Share my screen.
Alvin, you're not audible.
Alvin, please switch off your video.
Yeah.
Alvin, you can switch off your video for a while so that your audio will be better.
All right. Okay. So I've shared my screen. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect, sir. Now audio is perfect. You can switch off your video also if possible.
That's okay. It's okay. You can. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Great. I will put it on. Okay. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
perfect.
Great. Okay. Now we're talking about integrating landscape and. I'm just trying to give my version of journey, uniting men with. In the graphic there of a sustainable sustainability landscape. Well, it really serves true of man with nature. What is green building? I think you call that green building. Thriving is 12 years, I think. Before this, and we started building index. Is our tool. And what is our green building? Under engineers to come up with rating tools. Buildings. We have 6 energy efficiency, environment quality, sustainability, resources, and water efficiency and innovation. I establishing common language, promoting raising everybody environmental leadership by reducing its ensuring new buildings remain. This is the rating score. Sorry, let me go back. Oops, let me go back. All right. We have 6 because of our different 3. Sorry, keep running away. Explain which are the criteria. Okay. We look at landscape affects us in terms of. We look at justice, privilege, unused, protecting existing ecosystem, nature. It's all up there to be. Now, how do we look at this? Reduce consumption of energy. TV. To improve environmental air quality. Let's go in next slide. Okay, now using a lot of examples. For example, green roof, shades. Comes through the you need to energy usage. Reduce that. Indoor air quality, indoor cross ventilation, lighting, sound penetration. We can use green and landscaping, sustainable site planning, encouraging smaller footprints. This means we use a lot of our retention pond as recreational areas of the sites. The efficiency criteria for landscaping. So we have a lot of we can use irrigation, without innovation in design in our youth. Here, planted box building on high-rise, landscape insertion into high-rise. They all use to passively pull down the building. It's not so much the building, but we can thoroughly sustainable. So to your question.
Thank you, Alvin. It was pretty good. In fact, it was much more than what we were already know actually, and pretty good to see the index which is being. Definitely, ASSOCHAM will like to invite you on the platform. So we'll come. Everybody should remain here. You also there will. Meanwhile, I'll move to Sujata Ingorani for this question. Sujata, can you just tell me the relevance of sustainable landscape in urban and public places? This is a favorite subject. We know you worked a lot on public places. So it's the relevance of sustainable landscape in urban and public places. Over to you, Sujata.
Thank you, Anupam. First of all, I would like to thank ASSOCHAM for inviting me on this forum, and it was great to hear the previous speakers also regarding their experiences in their countries, and especially about Bhutan. The leadership out there is like so inspiring, and it kind of trickles down to the people who are designing as well as to the citizens. Out here in India, I think we require that kind of leadership which emphasizes more on the environmental aspects. And in terms of, I think Anupam, you had asked my co-panelists about sustainability and how landscape can bring in sustainability. I personally feel that landscape is not like a separate field that we should look at, but look at the entire and urban environment holistically. So landscape is one of the aspects that we look at. along with urban design, transport planning, and also architecture. So what we look at is if we look at sustainability, all of them have to kind of work together in a proper way. For example, if you have a site in which you do have green building ratings and everything perfect and whatever, but you leave the entire, the site as basement parking, and you don't have any land for groundwater recharge and all. So that is, I believe, would not be sustainable. So I think more architects should work with landscape architects for them to work out best practices and what to do in terms of the land itself, rather than just us coming in later on as appendages, as sub-consultants and all. So landscape has to be integral to the site planning as well as to the other projects also. So there has to be more interaction between the landscape architect community as well as the architecture, urban design, transport community. So that is something we must encourage organizations like ASSOCHAM to come into the picture. So our practice also is kind of focused on that how do we bring all the streams together in such a way that it is whatever we do is not an eyewash and it really makes a difference. Like if we are doing any public space, for example, street design or something, we look at the stormwater, we look at the wastewater. Around 25% of our city is roads. So, so much of water which falls on the roads, where does it go? Does it go directly into the drains? How does it go? Like, and then at certain times of the year, we have flooding, and at certain times we have no water. So, like, God is giving us water, but we are not being able to preserve it. So those are the aspects that we look at. So whenever we do street design, so we look at how do we utilize the water which is falling near the area of intervention, and how we stop the water, how do we soak it in, how do we slow the water, how do we disconnect the water, which falls on the road onto the drains, and then it goes to the bigger drains and then to the river. Rather, we would like the water which is falling close to the site to be close to the site. Like we can take it to the nearest park, or even if we have a wide road or something, we can actually have recharge facilities provided within the along the site or around the site. So those are the things that we look at. So water is a very important field that we are working on, and also wastewater. So there are a lot of aspects in wastewater in which our cities have kind of failed. The river that we have in Delhi, also the Yamuna River, we have all the pollution of the entire city going into the river. So it's like a large drain. So how do we look at stopping, the dirty water from going into the directly into the river? Rather, we should be able to manage the water, the wastewater, where the pollution source is happening. So all of those, and then we also want to use sustainable methods of treating the water instead of using STPs and all. How we can use plants and gravity with low cost treatments and all to actually clean the water so that we can reuse it. So those are the aspects that we look at.
Fantastic, Sujata. In fact, you have created another point of discussion among all of us, when an architect should interact more with a landscape architect.
Definitely.
And 100% I agree with you. I should rather 103% I agree with you that whenever we start a design, rather we initiate the first draft, first sketch for the site plan, it always gets benefited when that particular time a landscape architect is with us. And it has given fantastic results. So I personally, I feel it is the right way. And in all the components and all the co-consultants and the associates should work together from the very first day, from the beginning. Complete holistical report coordination with the people amongst and for the project should be benefited for all of us. Thank you, Sujata, for the first answer. I'll get back to you again. Before that, I'll ask Madhup to take up the next question. Having experience in a lot of private projects other than the government projects also, and I've seen your work personally, and like to put some light on this question. Your perceptual change is required. Like we see that perceptual change required to appreciate landscape design for today and future in the sustainability. How do you react on this? For today and future.
Thank you, Anupam, for raising this.
Get my question?
Yeah, getting here.
Okay. Yeah.
So thanks, Anupam, for raising this question. It is very much, I think, a qualitative aspect of the topic that also you must be. And I think there is a perceptual gap between design of structured landscape and what is coming out from the ecologist table. And maybe there is a presumption that sustainable landscape might not look very pretty. So what happens is that we have to correct our way of thinking. And if you look at mainstream landscape works, I think it is driven mostly by the cosmetic notions of aesthetics, and also we try to always compose the landscape in a very well designed compositions of graphical layers which are aesthetically pleasant, and then there are very distinct edges and distinct frames. There are highlighted points and features which are very much strongly perceptible visually. But at the same time, we live with a very static condition. I mean, these kind of landscape experiences are more static, more inanimate, and actually does not tell beyond much the experience of the design landscape or aesthetic landscape. But when you're talking of ecologically designed landscape, I think then there are other layers which is beyond the aesthetic appeal, and one should learn, and today the requirement to learn how to appreciate beyond the visual quality. Because whether it's a large-scale landscape, which is a sustainable landscape, or a smaller landscape, there are micro details which are done, which are to do with the process of the components and their activities within the landscape. For example, there are underlying layers. And if it is a large-scale landscape, suppose it is like a grassland or a waterfront development or a savanna kind of development, there you do not want to go and take a selfie. You might want to just get lost and actually explore. And because why do you want to explore is because there are lots of things which are happening to do with water purification, layering of the planting, and the process of that. There might be a lot to do with the participation of the biodiversity which is happening, which you can explore. So you start, there's a prospect of refuge and exploration which is there in sustainable landscape, which is not there on a non-sustainable design landscape. So our perceptions has to change, and the quality of aesthetics has to change. And also it is true that because there are lots of information which is based on this kind of sustainable landscape, there is a parallel benefit of educational value, which is always there when you experience a sustainable landscape. It is also economically more viable. And also it is participative. The communities can participate to take part into this landscape. So there are more intangible things than just the cosmetic outlook of the landscape, which is there. And I think the perceptions are changing with the climate change, that everybody is getting aware, and we are all learning to also appreciate sustainable landscape. But one more thing I want to drive over here, the point is that this kind of sustainable landscape was nothing new. Today, sustainability is a celebrated word. And actually speaking, even if you look back into the history of evolution of garden designs, even if you look beyond the 17th centuries, or even in India, even before that, all these historic presence of Varanasi, Ujjain, Mandu, Rajasthan towns, even the Mughal gardens, they were all built with this concept of sustainability. It was not another concept in the head. It was always there. All these water runnels, the rainwater harvesting systems, the passive cooling, the baulis and the coombs. The fruit orchards were part of the lifestyle. So all these herbal gardens were there already. And then we lost maybe all these things. And it was part of the intrinsic development. Then came the in between the art and the Renaissance in English gardens, and today what we call as modern landscape expression. All those things got overlapped by the requirement of landscape to be seen as a picture, a perfect situation. So now, also if you start in India, something I think the West, the kind of management protocol which is required, the maintenance protocol, the cost, it is not possible to arrange for that 5 to 7 liters of water per plant every day. And it is from where will you get the different pool of researchers? So we have to adapt ourselves to what is sustainable landscape, and we have to start appreciating them because it is more engaging. And I think even if you see some of the latest projects of even so-called IT parks and commercial buildings, they're adapting itself to this kind of experiences of sitting next to a kind of a farmyard for your outdoor canteen or a rain garden for outdoor spaces. And people are enjoying it. So I think there's a big shift which is not only required and it's already happening towards sustainable landscape, and it's a good thing. And if it carry on our efforts, it can be making a big change for our cities of future.
Fantastic. Madhup, I think I should have asked you in a different way. The moment I said design for today and future, you should have been to the present and taking to the future. Because whenever we any civilization or anything from the past, we inside we always get some information which can be we implemented even today, relevant even today itself. So wonderful, and thank you for.
Is there?
Sorry.
I mean, we have to revive our own dying wisdom, which was always there with us in our old examples.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I said. My question should have been included the word past also, along with the present and future. Great. Great. So thank you. Madhu will come again. So Dorji, you are ready for the next question. So shall I? We'll come back to Dorji now. Dorji, are you okay? Okay. So you when you're talking about Bhutan, you said it is 60% forest cover, mandatory, and you already have a 71% forest cover. When we about
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. I have not till now. I was saying that during the first question, you said that in Bhutan it's mandatory to have 60% of forest cover, and you already have a 71% of forest cover, right? So it's very difficult to even assume or envisage or even design for such a large forest land or even the open spaces, green covers for our cities. But still, I'll come to the next question, which is again for Bhutan, especially in such a difficult landscape of Himalaya. How have architects maintained a balance between nature and buildings? Because I've been to that place, that area, and we see it become very difficult to actually create built spaces and keep a balance. It's really a challenge. So how, as an architect, how do you keep a balance, and how the architects of Bhutan do take care of that? Over to you.
Yes. Question. Very interesting question. And I do agree that maintaining a balance between nature and buildings is difficult anywhere else. But in Bhutan, where we have a difficult landscape of the Himalayas, it's a very, very delicate task. And the balance is also very much dynamic and sometimes very uncertain. And but we in Bhutan, we understand that the built environment and nature, we're very much a holistic part together, and we're inseparable. So we do know that the relationship between the built environment and nature can be healthy and joyful. We definitely enjoy the landscapes here, but it can also be very harmful. And we in Bhutan, we try very much, very hard to live in harmony with nature. And to a very large extent, we've always put nature first in our country. You can see that enshrined in our constitution. And in Bhutan, the human-environment relationship is not just based on a lot of statistics or based on regulations or based on maybe having kind of technology put first, but it's very much about associating human values with ecology, the human emotional values, and not just looking at technology or how much greenhouse gases we can reduce, but very much also treating nature in tandem with humans. And for us, designing with nature very much begins with, first of all, understanding nature, understanding where we are, and then having great respect for it. And this kind of understanding and respect for nature in Bhutan, we architects is very much help designers on how to deal with the very difficult landscape in the Himalayas, where we have very little land where humans can really have a built environment on without enduring hardship. And for us, again, besides the government regulations, which we have a lot of government regulations and a lot of acts that look after nature. For example, the human settlement plans and designs are very much prepared with designated land use, which takes into consideration environmental concerns and requirements even before human concerns. So that is something that is inbuilt within our regulations and our acts. But also living with nature is very much built, again, as I said, into our culture and spiritual traditions. Even something simple like before you start constructing on a site, we have a spiritual practice, which is very much, I would say 90% practice everywhere, where we would have a little ritual where we kind of have a prayer and a request to the earth deity to take over the site. So we always look at that site as something that we are going to borrow. It doesn't really belong to us. We are going to be part of it. So we have this special ritual before every construction, and especially before even every government construction, where we request the earth deity to allow us to also be part of the use of that site. So besides that, we very much have learned a lot of lessons from our vernacular architecture when it comes to balancing nature and the built environment. And vernacular architecture, of course, like everywhere around the world, is very much sustainable. It looks into ecological values besides looking into cultural and spiritual traditions. So this integration of our vernacular design is again built into our regulations, where what we call the traditional architectural guidelines, and that is something that guides most of our buildings in Bhutan. And when I look at how do I balance nature and my projects, I am very much a big fan of integrating biophilic elements and solutions into my designs, where we try to use nature as something that will allow not just technological sustainability, but also enhance emotional and mental well-being of people. And so I feel, besides looking at sustainability, the next step, and very much in keeping in line with GNH, is to look at nature as a source of providing us emotional and psychological support. And we do understand that when you look at the balance, it's very delicate, and one size that fits Bhutan may not fit the other countries. So we kind of feel that getting the right balance is very complex, and it does require some hard work, but at the same time, it's very simple. And then I do feel that we've been very fortunate to have the right leadership and also the right awareness of how to get this balance in the right balance. And basically, that is how we architects currently are trying to look at integrating nature into our designs in Bhutan.
Okay. So you have to be a very I think. Am I audible? Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, a little better.
Yeah. So there was something. There may be some technical issue. So I'll just put this line again for Dorji. You have to be a very responsible architect and a wonderful human being to be in Bhutan. So Dorji, you fits in these line perfectly. So thanks for your input on this. So I'll come back to Alvin again. Alvin, okay, so you're already ready to answer, take up my next question. So looking at the availability of natural resources in the coming decade, how do you feel landscape architecture is going to change? For Alvin.
I think regardless of the integration of landscape into our building, as mentioned by architect Sujata just then, landscape architects is getting involved. The building design has been completed, so it's basically just to fill in the gaps in between buildings. Now it's different. Now everybody uses landscape as part of the integral part of the building concept. Yeah, in developments in Malaysia, the land brings higher value to the concept these days. Afterthought. Design process. So the less design as early as it's inevitable. So that way, new movement into esteemed architecture, building with a landscape. So yes, more. I think
and it seems to be like it's a process-driven change. It's not like that changing from a particular day. Alvin?
Sorry, I missed the question.
Yeah. No. So another question I was adding to your things, like it seems like when we or what is going to change in architecture in the future, I think it's a process. It's a continuous process. The change is always a process-driven change. So everything is happening. So whatever we are doing, whatever we are trying to do, whatever we have done, it's a process which is still on. It will go on. Okay. Thank you, Alvin. Mukul, with the similar. Yeah. Sorry, you're saying something, Alvin. Please continue.
Thank you very much.
Great. So adding to the same thing, I'll come to Mukul now. Mukul, how can a particular material in landscape design be more sustainable than other? Can you, like, my specific question is about the material thing. So when we talk about materials in landscape, So can you just have a comparison, or you can just tell about the materials, one material for the same use may be sustainable than the other material?
Okay. Very rightly said that materials play a big role in sustainability. And as a landscape architect, and especially from Rajasthan, we have a lot of stone as our base material. And that is one material which is very, very sustainable because it is readily available. It's not transported over large distances and it is lifelong. You don't have to do much work on it. Generally, we use it in as far as possible a raw form or a hand cut form. So that material versus, I mean, I have big arguments with my clients who go to the south and see some particular stone and they say, no, we want that particular granite to be put in. And it's like, why? I mean, when I know that the aesthetics of this particular stone versus a stone from far away will be much better than why do you want, but it's like, oh no, there's a big fashion statement now if you put Italian, and especially if you put rough Italian, or rather shall I say texture treated Italian marbles. And I am totally against this concept because I feel that things which belong to the place, like Dorji mentioned very well, I mean, this is something which we should learn from Bhutan, that vernacular aspects of architecture should be captured in whatever we are designing. We should be able to capture the essence of the place where we design. And even if I'm talking about place, I mean the spot. So if I'm designing in Udaipur, then the elements that are being used in the design, the material as you mentioned, which are being used in the design should be from Udaipur itself or surrounding areas of Udaipur, right? It is meaningless that instead of a stone jali, I am using a WPC jali. I mean, it's totally senseless. There are a lot of people who are doing this funny things. If I don't have stone, then okay, it makes sense. Okay, I don't. Now, if I'm doing a place, a landscape in the hills in Himachal, and I say, okay, I want a stone from Udaipur, then it's meaningless. How can you design using a material from so far off? Use a stone in that very spot. You have so many slates coming in Himachal. You have a lot of wooden material available in Himachal. So we use material which is available out there. So material actually is a big aspect of sustainability in any aspect of design, not just landscape. Over to you.
In fact, this was in continuation with what Dorji was talking about. They have a traditional building guidelines. Do we have in India any such traditional building guidelines? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We don't have any kind of guidelines with this, accepting the green rating guidelines, which now people are following. I think I should thank ASSOCHAM at this particular point, and other green rating tools which are specifying, Griha, etc., specifying that you get a particular set of points for using materials or which are within a certain radius. So yes, that is the only possible. I mean, we should be now putting it in our bylaws, not just this thing. It should be a part of our bylaws.
So that's the way the local material can be, specified. That should be made mandatory to use. So the guidelines can define those things in the future.
Local craftsmen. I'm not just about. It's not about the material. It's also about craftsmen. The local craftsmen will get more jobs. They'll get more work to do.
Basically, that's why I just got this line, the traditional building guidelines. I'm really amazed to even listen to this line. Definitely, all of you, like this starlets and big, heavyweight champions of landscape architecture and architects can definitely put it forward to the government sometime through ASSOCHAM maybe. So I can also, being a part of a government advocacy committee, I can also put it together if I can get a brief out of it. Perfect. So putting up this topic to a little different side with Sujata. Sujata's focus area seems to be stormwater management, I'm sure. So how does sustainable landscape design solutions help support stormwater management, Sujata? Can you just put some light on this?
Actually, my focus is as I told you, was about integrating all aspects of design. So, stormwater management is also very important aspect. I think I talked a bit about it earlier. So, I would like to talk about what Doji was talking about biophilic, a little bit about what she was talking about, how the human and the environment connection is so important. So, what happens when we are living in a city? We are living in very dense environments, and the whole, city has to be kind of sustainable. So, the density is important. So, we should not spread ourselves out too much. So, because of that, the spaces that we have in a city, each and every space becomes very important. So, be it our streets, our uh, little public parks, or any space that a human moves through is a very important space for that person. And if that helps in terms of creating better mental health, so I would like to say that I myself I have a problem with mental health. I have anxiety disorder. So after that, I really started doing a lot of research on this, and plants and all really make a lot of difference. So for humans to move through natural environment is a need, is a very important need for people. And the way we are designing our cities, we are totally overlooking that. So we need to bring the natural environment within our cities, and how we do it through biophilia, through our open spaces, through our architecture is something that we really have to look, because without that, the amount of mental health issues that we are already going through with our mobile generation, it's basically going to increase more. So that is something I would like to, stress upon, that we have to look at how to integrate landscape. And in that aspect, I would also like to talk a little bit about how the plot of any project, how that relates to the edges of the city. Like, for example, if you have a housing plot, or if you have a commercial plot, what is the edge conditions? So typically we have boundary walls. The first thing the architect or the developer makes are boundary walls. Now a person walking outside on the street and all, it's a very negative kind of an environment that the person has to deal with, in terms of safety, in terms of, so how we make our edges to be more interactive with the plot edges, to be more interactive with the city, is something that again architects have to look at with the landscape architect, to kind of merge the whole environment together. In places like Japan and European cities and all, we don't have the concept of boundary walls. The building edge is the boundary edge of any city. So your shop front is opening onto the street, or there is, if you need to have a boundary, you need to have you can have a grill, a see-through thing. So the whole environment kind of talks to each other, the outside and the inside. So that is something which I think we need to look at that aspect also as part of city planning. Sorry, I digressed totally from stormwater. I thought I talked about it earlier. So.
No. I appreciate about one thing. In fact, I was, I started thinking about the projects which we did and doing, like zero setback. It is about the zero setback. It is basically when you move around the city, or you move around you feel to be a part of that habitat. You be a part of particular, maybe house, maybe a commercial complex, maybe.
So that is something in terms of our policies and guidelines. I think we need to, and especially in Delhi, you have the builder floors where you know, you don't have a ground floor. You just have stilt, and there's parking on the ground floor, and the parking is spilling out onto the street, and you don't have a, you know, clear walking environment outside. So it's like very messed up. So everybody is doing just their own thing.
So you create a wall between, not between the building, but create between the people.
I don't know. You either create a wall or you give additional space for the parking, so it kind of spills over. Whatever you have inside is outside also. Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm saying, I'm appreciating your words in a different way. I'm saying that when we create boundary walls, we basically create walls between people.
Yes. Yes.
So it is
Absolutely.
better to keep an open space for openness between the people also, and that comes to be the kind of the human value and what we are talking about.
No, it is also part of the policy. Like you have a front setback in your, you know, any building plot has a front setback. What does the front setback do? Like either you are parking your, you know, cars in the front setback, or so like it's not really. It's like a divider. So what do you do with the front setback? If you have a road outside, the fire tender can, you know, easily access from the outside. So there is no need of that. Like the zero setback concept is something that should be looked at very strongly, I feel.
I fully agree with this, and this can be even discussed in an even larger platform. Thank you, Sujata. This second question will come to Madhup. He's eagerly waiting for something to say. You can say something else also, Madhup. It's an open forum. At the same time, I like to ask one thing. So role, you can just elaborate role of planting and change in its palette that is more suitable for sustainable landscape design. Role of planting and change in its palette that is more suitable for sustainable landscape design. The audio to be connected, Madhu.
Yeah. Goes without saying, planting had to be discussed. I'd like to reply your question in 2-3 layers. First of all, the role and the importance and what it can make a difference. Obviously, in the role of a tree, and then or the plants, or and how the landscape planting is very important. And secondly, the kind of planting which should be more practiced, and the species. Now we have all gone through this, and also going through this large screen times during the COVID eras. And obviously, after a long day on the screen, what you would like to look out of is just to look at a tree, or the feel of a tree. I'd like to walk out and stand next to a tree. Now, tree is actually, I think, one of the most intelligent living systems right now, and how it can bring back so much of a difference. There's no point elaborating on the fact. We, as landscape architects, sometimes we are considered that we are supposed to be working on the ground. But actually speaking, I think our role is changing. We are moving up on the vertical sides. Our buildings are getting covered with green walls, and then they're going up, and we are thinking of sky roofs, and the building tops are. So where all of these possible planting is getting infused. And if you have seen some rest of the international examples, like the Wasco building in Milan, or the Oasia Hotel in Singapore, they're basically the architectural aesthetic being expressed through planting. And in fact, in one of my own personal project, very famous architect Ricardo Bofill, he, after designing the building, he reassessed his elevation, and then he said, I'm giving you a screen, so let my building aesthetics be plant in the middle of software, ready to hide his architectural expression and express through plant. In infrastructure, where one of the best examples, international. If you are aware of this Cheng Yo Chong restoration project in Seoul, where they broke a 5 to 6 kilometer long flyover, and now they are having water channels and green lineage. So people are much more participating. So it's a big movement. And now the role of planting is to be thought about what kind of plants is required in terms of sustainable landscape. Obviously, in terms of the North Indian concept, the drought tolerant species and water efficient planting is very important. So we have to find native plants and be very well go around putting exotic species, and we should know what is native plants and what is also customized to this condition of the climate that we have to find. Then we have to also find the second layer is going to find the plants which are less water intensive. So then we have to make a separate list for which are less water intensive plants. So for working out a successful or more efficient irrigation system, and when we're talking of irrigation system, obviously there are various intelligent methods of putting drip irrigations and sensor-based irrigation to optimize the use of water. And so there are plants which are good to look at, and there are plants which are good to feel. And then we also have got some plants coming indoors because we want to put plants even inside the indoor conditions, which are most oxygen emanating plants, like the snake plants or the aloe vera and all. But in the outdoor, I think one big thing which can make a difference, even in a small private plot, or even in a campus, or even in a city level, is actually microforests. And I think we should start adopting the use of microforests in our different scale of developments. Now, what is microforest? And they are basically dense growth of planting in a very compact space, and they create a small micro enclosure of enriched biodiversity. And supposedly, when it's supposed to be so dense, you can't walk through it. There are various ways of doing it, and Dr. Miyawaki has kind of mastered it to create Miyawaki microforests, which actually grows very fast. So there are a lot of organic composting which is done, a lot of liquid fertilizers, and everything is natural. And you can actually have the layers of the different plants after some time, within very quick succession, they find their own system of developing micro. So microforests can be done at the back. It can be done in the traffic islands. It can be done in the cities. But what is the gain of doing a microforest is that it transforms the urban voids into sponges and green sinks. And that is very important. And they are going to produce and make our urban landscape more of healing landscape. And that's why I think we should, all of us, try to have the practice of using microforestry as part of our landscape scheme. Because also there are benefits to do with soil enrichment. It kind of resists the soil erosion, and it also adds noise control. It reduces the runoff, and it refills the water. Then there are also edible landscape. The concept of edible landscape should come in picture, where actually they are productive landscapes or regenerative landscapes. So harvesting food and food crops in our limited, controlled campuses is also very important. We can actually suffice for our daily food requirement even in office buildings by doing that. So I think by doing this kind of planting like microforestry, we can enrich the biodiversity, add much more nutrient value to the soil, retain water. It makes much more economic sense. It makes the community much more engaged. And obviously, depending on artificial system of water intensive system or energy consumption system of high irrigations, we can reduce. So definitely the planting palette has to change, and we have to move on to some things which are more native, more drought tolerant, and more of less water requiring.
And then what happens? Then one day your client comes to you after visiting Dubai and wants to create Dubai in UP. And on the other side, when Dubai Sheikh is going to Malaysia, he wants to create. So it happens like this, and we're trying to create a palette from nowhere, rather than it should be more of a by the plants, around you from your native place. In fact, there are a lot of things which are coming in my mind, but definitely we have limitations, time limitations especially. But before taking up a question from outside, I just like any of you like to put a question to any of the other panelists. I'm most welcome. Like anybody from the panelists wants to ask any question from the other panelists. Then, Roy, you should be ready for the questions if you have with you or maybe from the public.
Definitely, sir.
Any panelists, do you have any question with respect to the speakers?
I wanted to ask Dorji about what she said that some guidelines are there for the GNH. What you have. Are they available on the net? What are the policy measures that the Bhutan government has taken? Are they available for all of us to see so that we can also learn from it? So. Hello.
Yes, Sujata. Yes, all the guidelines and all the acts are available online. If you go to the different ministries, you can download all the guidelines and the regulations. Even the traditional architectural guidelines you can download. We also have the Bhutan Green Building Guidelines that you can download. And then we have a lot of forest acts and water acts and urban rural development acts and regulations. So everything that all the regulations and the acts that information you require, you can download from the ministries. Yes.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much.
So over to Anurag for a question from forum or from outside.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the session was extremely nice, and it has been moderated by you very, very well. One question, or maybe a couple of questions that we have. First question is from Mr. Bhaskar Sandeep. He's asking that why not the landscape become the statutory requirement in developmental activities as sustainable aspects of the real estate industry. So he's apparently emphasizing on making this landscape aspect as a statutory.
I think Sujata, will you like to answer?
Yeah, that was my focus of today's talk to kind of urge the architecture community and the people who make the policies to incorporate landscape or rather sustainability as part of the system so that the whole development model kind of changes into what is the requirement of today. We are, I think, still living in a world, the pre-climate change world, where the things have totally changed now. So we have to look at the whole development of our cities and our plots and our buildings in a totally different way. So there has to be a brainstorming regarding that, and we have to come up with new policies and not just landscape. The way we do our, the way we do even the land use aspects, the density, all of those things. So everything has to be looked at. The way we have a lot of suburban development and we actually spread ourselves into our suburbs is something like. What Dorji was talking about, Bhutan has 71% of forest cover, whereas we have around 21%, and what we have to achieve is around 56%. So how do we, if we keep on spreading our cities into the suburbs and all, how do we increase our forest cover? So we have to keep our cities to be compact. So how do we achieve that through planning and through, transport planning, urban planning, landscape, and all the aspects have to be looked at. So that some brainstorming has to be done regarding that.
I think Neeraj ji, you have got a homework now. That whatever is coming up, you should, actually you should, on a very serious note, you should prepare a draft on this. And as a team of ASSOCHAM, we should definitely put it forward for something to move towards this.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can I add something?
Yeah. Yeah. Please, Mukulji.
Thank you so much, Sujata ji.
Just to this question, I'll just add a quick point.
Yes,
That fortunately or unfortunately, the government has just taken a very small cognizance of the fact that landscaping is a component in a builder's or developer's project. So in Rajasthan, the bylaw is that 15% of the land area should have a green cover. It should not have parking or any kind of activity on that area, excepting, of course, children's play area or something. But 15% of the land, whatever the size is, should be under green cover. So that is just that one particular aspect which they've included in the bylaws. But rest, it's all up to what happens actually in the field.
That's definitely a very small thing, but still may start towards achieving something bigger. So, do you have any other question?
Sir, we have a lot of questions, but I think we are running short of time. So I'll take one more question, which is related to, let's say, the comparative analysis of this aspect. So the question is related to, let's say, landscape is considered generally as a creative aspects of the architecture, but below or beneath the landscape, soil, or the trees, there is a lot of engineering involved in terms of plumbing, in terms of electrical, and etc. So, as an architect, what do we consider it? Is it like this less architecture, more engineering, or more architecture, less engineering?
Can I answer this?
Yes,
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, it's a very, I'm so happy that this point is raised. Really, all of our landscape architects face this problem, I think, because we are called, first of all, to give a pretty picture for the marketability of the project. And then while the project develops, we are told that there are too many service lines going. And when they kind of sell the whole concept through podium top landscaping, then the picture comes across like there's only 300 of soil fill that you can consider, but you have to produce the big trees, which you have promised in the marketing document. So there's a huge mismatch happening. So we have to understand when we talk about the landscape in the initial stage, we talk about if you want this size of the tree, we require this much of the soil fill, which requires that much of structural load capacity. Consider that in the engineering aspect of the building design and also in the bylaws. That this is going to be the fire path requirement, so you can't think of any obstructive vertical landscape elements. At the same time, what continuation to what Mukul said is that when we're talking of 15 or 20% of green space, which is to be mandatory kept, what generally happens and comes across in front of one is a situation where the building is designed with a plot of land, only a green hatch portion is left, which is exactly 15% or 20%. But then we have to do everything which is required in the marketing document, which is to do with the hard clay coats, which is to do with the paving and everything, even a walkway, which takes away that 15%. So we should not go so much cut and dry. There has to be a transitional quantum of hardscape also considered to negotiate between the green and the hard, soft. So there has to be a percentage correction required in the mandatory regulation also. So this engineering aspect of the landscape is something which we highlight right. I think we should all, and we all face the problem right in the concept stage, that what we are talking about, this beautiful picture, is only possible if the structural aspect of the building or the site and the service is well integrated as the way we have. So I think there has to be much more work required to understand. And that's why there isn't, right in the inception stage of a project, we should have more workshops to understand what is possible to build. Like Alvin said, that it is nothing something to be done later. And it should not be coming as an afterthought. It should be rather done together from day one so that you can see what you want to see later. Goes without the point of talking about the budget. But there, the budget, that's not the forum to discuss that. So I'm happy to have this question raised, and I think there's a lot of debate on that, and find opportunities for a more sustainable and beautiful landscape. Thank you.
Neeraj have to prepare another session for from this point.
Yeah, goodness.
Great, Madhu sir, thank you so much for your response. It was very much valid. I think I'll not take more questions. So we are just closing towards the end. Before the vote of thanks, I would also like to invite Pankaj Dharkar sir again, because we have esteemed panelists here available from different countries. So we have a certificate distribution ceremony. I'd like to invite Pankaj sir to distribute, to hand over the token of e-distribution, e-certificate to the panel available here. Thank you so much.
Can you just...
Yes. So, Dharkarji, your voice is breaking. So, if you allow, I would announce the names. Yes. Dharkarji, your voice is breaking. So, I mean, if you switch off your video, your audio will improve. And if you allow, I would announce the names, please. Yeah. So, first, we would like to thank Architect Alvin Lim. So, thank you so much, Architect Alvin Lim. Thank you so much for joining. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Next is Architect Dorji. Architect Dorji, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Architect Mukul Goyal, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for joining. Architect Sujata, thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Much.
Yeah.
Yes. Architect Madhu, sir, thank you so much for joining, sir. Thank you so much.
It's an honor indeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And Architect Anupam Mittalji, thank you so much for moderating the session so well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anupamji. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Neeraj sir, Pankaj sir, for facilitating the e-certificate ceremony. Last but not the least, I think the program will get an end with the vote of thanks. So I'd also like to invite Amit Shivastha ji. Amit sir is an advisor, GEM UP chapter, and also COO, Chief Operating Officer of Babu Banarsi Das Garage Construction, BBT Garage Construction. Inviting Amit sir for the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. It has been a pleasure and honor to be a part of this wonderful session on landscape and sustainability with eminent speakers of national and international repute. First of all, I would like to congratulate our chairman, National GEM, Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, for his vision of creating such a large and huge platform to have speakers from international and national level on reality and sustainability. Real estate sector takes about 40% of the resources which are there in this work. So I think that it is very important to make it sustainable. Reality or real estate has to play a very important part. On behalf of the chair, Mr. Anupam Mittal of GEM UP, and the co-chair, Anurag, and the team of UP, we would like to thank our eminent speakers, Mr. Alvin from Malaysia, and giving us feedback about the green concepts in Malaysia. Dorothy from Bhutan, and it was a really nice piece to understand the GDP in India as compared to the gross national happiness in Bhutan. That was really very interesting. And from India, we have Mukul, who told us about the local material to be used. Sujata regarding having the principal architect and the landscape architect right from the start of the project. I think private builders should take a lesson from there. I being in the private builder industry, I will definitely make it a point. Next time Anupam designs a building for us, he should have a landscape consultant on board with us. And then definitely we have got Madhu, who told us about microforest and the concept about regarding that. That was new to, at least to me. We would also like to put our sincere thanks to Mr. Neeraj Arora and his team for planning and organizing this wonderful event at the international level. And from UP, thank you all of us. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amitji. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. Excellent wrap up and
Thank you.
fantastic teamwork from UP. Congratulations to you and
That's for everybody.
Forward to meet everybody very soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Everyone. Bye.